this is like fun with other, running friends. So I'm like, I'm going to do it because I knew it would put me in a good mood. You are my BRF.
What's happening, Eric?
There for your victory lap.
Yeah.
Whoa!
How did that happen?
How did you do that?
And all of a sudden I go to zip it up and I'm like, why is the zipper in the front right now? 0 out of 10 on the recommendation scale.
I am literally crying from laughter and from so much love. Oh my God.
It's like icing off for your cornhole.
And he just smashed Arnie like that and said, "You stay out of this, Arnie." And I thought,
I don't run to stay sober. I get to run because I am.
Hell, and there she was, a halo over her head.
No, it's not freaking true. Okay.
And he steps to the side and just gestures. Here's the tinkle pot. I don't need to tinkle.
1, 2, 3, 4. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 192 of the On the Runs podcast. We are live from the Newburyport Half Marathon in Newburyport, Massachusetts at Cashman Park. This is super cool because I've spent hundreds of times here on the boat with my dad and the family and the kids and everything. It's super cool. And I am here with my kick-ass rock star co-host who is all bundled up in a puffy jacket because it is 47 degrees, but the sun is out and it feels nice. 6-star Erika, what's up?
How are you, buddy? This is a beautiful morning, especially to run a 5K and a half marathon. So I may be a little distracted during these tros just because they are expecting the first 5K finisher momentarily.
That's right. We've been recording all morning so far with some pretty cool people. We just had Andy from Millennium on.
Andy
we had
Shackett,
Bill
yeah.
and Patty earlier. We're going to have more after. This is all going to drop on Thursday, but today is episode 192. It is Tuesday, so happy Tuesday. Best day to make better than yesterday, and we are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5 days from the New York City Marathon. If you're listening now, you can also hear the rock band to my left and Andy's in front of us. It's pretty cool. So we're going to keep the intro pretty short.
Yep.
And we're going to do more of a professional outro probably Monday from a controlled environment. But guys, it is New York City week and I'm so excited to run the New York City Marathon. And I'm so excited for our guest today. We have Rob Simmelkjaer from the New York Roadrunners and the Set Your Pace podcast. I am so pumped up for this one.
Oh, yeah, you are. You were just so excited to pick his brain about all things New York Roadrunners, especially because New York City is just right around the corner.
Right. Rob is the CEO for the New York Roadrunners, and we got to hear his story about Dartmouth and living in New England, but growing up in New Jersey, New York, and then his rise to the New York Roadrunners. And also, we got a little talk. We need to thank Bex Gentry, because Bex Gentry is the one who made this happen.
She hooked us up. She's a real one.
Bex,
we love you, Bex.
You're the best. So, guys, enjoy Rob Simmelkjaer on the On the Runs podcast, and we'll see you on the other side. Our next guest on the pod is a New Jersey kid with some New Hampshire ties who, for the last 3 years, has been putting the New York Roadrunners on the map. He was a sports play-by-play announcer for the Big Green when he went to Dartmouth before going to law school at Harvard. Not a big deal. He's worked for outlets like ABC, ESPN, NBC Sports. And oh, by the way, he's a pretty good podcaster as he hosts the Set the Pace podcast with one of our pod fam favorites, Bex Gentry. Needless to say, as we're ramping up for the New York City Marathon, we are wicked excited to have Rob Simmelkjaer from the New York Roadrunners on the On the Runs podcast. What's up, Rob?
Well, I know I'm in New England with the wicked excited line right out of the gate. So Nice to be with you guys.
It's a thing we do, man. I love it. It's a big thing. Wicked awesome to have you.
That will not be the first time you hear it either. I'm sure that we will drop those throughout the whole podcast, but just let us tell you how excited we are to have you. You are so welcome. Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, I spent 7 of the most fun years of my life in New England, so I'm used to a good Boston accent, a little wicked here, there.
Yeah.
We love to hear it.
Let's start with that then. I mean, we like to get to know you, but we like to break the ice a little bit. And you spent 4 of those 7 in New Hampshire. Erika and I grew up, live still today in New Hampshire. We've moved around for a bit, but we went to Plymouth State, not too far from Dartmouth. How do you enjoy your time in New Hampshire?
I loved it. I love New Hampshire and Vermont. That's a beautiful area. Dartmouth was a really cool place to go to college. It was I don't know, it's a very picturesque town. If you've ever had a chance to be in Hanover, New Hampshire, right there on the Connecticut River, the border of Vermont. And, it's just a special place. I mean, back when I was there in the early 1990s, we had winters like winters used to be. We had legit winters, and it would be 25 below. I remember seeing a couple times on the thermometer, and blizzards that would blind you for a day or two. And it was like there was full on snow from December through mud season, as you guys call it up there, in like April. Yeah. So that was real winter. But so it was, the winter months were rough. But Dartmouth has one summer thing called sophomore summer, where all the sophomores spend that summer on campus. And that was one of the best things to do at Dartmouth. They call it, Camp Dartmouth. And you're all hanging out on the Connecticut River and, sunning and going on tubes and stuff. And there's a lot of great memories from there. It's a beautiful place.
Gotta love the New England life. I actually spent my first year out of college. I worked just down the street in Lebanon, and we used to take lunch sometimes. We'd be like, let's go to the campus. You had some great pizza places over that way. So I'm familiar with the area. It's just so nice.
Everything but anchovies. That was like the place to have pizza.
Pretty sure I have been there several times.
It was open till 2 a.m. and the pizza was good, but they were most famous for their chicken sandwich, which every fraternity in town would order en masse at about 1:45 a.m. on a Friday or a Saturday night. So they'd be running around with their little cars delivering chicken sandwiches till 3. It was
you
great.
Guys knew the drill.
Yeah. We had the same experiences, I would say, at Plymouth, not too far. We were green too, and buff chick calzone was a huge thing.
I feel like we were big on the dollar slices, right?
Yeah.
The dollar
It's just
slices.
a little difference between Plymouth and Dartmouth, though. We were down here, barely could win a football game, and Dartmouth was playing D1 college level. You were doing the play-by-play, which had to be super cool.
It was super cool. That was kind of the beginning of my broadcasting life. Exactly, was doing Dartmouth football, basketball, hockey, a little baseball as well. And it was amazing. I got to do some really cool things and had some great experiences. And yeah, it's a small school, but it was playing D1 across all sports, and it was one of the things that made it fun to be there.
Is that originally what you went to school for, was broadcasting, or did you go for something else?
Not really. I mean, I just kind of applied. I was a baseball player, but I wasn't recruited. So I kind of walked on and played a little bit of baseball up there. But, mostly I was there as a regular student. I was a political philosophy major. So was really into that stuff, which was kind of a typical thing to study before law school. And, but I love sports. And once I knew I wasn't going to be a professional baseball player, I just wanted to find a way to stay in that world. I had been a runner, but not particularly serious. I mean, I'd run cross country in high school, and I had a love-hate relationship, as a lot of young people do, with running and especially competitive running. My daughter's got the same thing going on right now. She runs cross country in high school. But, I never seriously thought about myself as like a serious runner. Baseball was something I was more serious about, but, I just wasn't going to play at that level. So, yeah, I was looking for opportunities to stay involved in sports from a young age, and broadcasting appealed to me from those days. And I was lucky that Dartmouth had a radio station where you could be a student and, be on the station doing news or sports or whatever. So that turned out to be a great opportunity for me.
Such a cool way to hone your skills that way.
It was great. It was absolutely great. I mean, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories about being on the air at Dartmouth is in 1992. I'm so old. In 1992, we were calling a Dartmouth football game. Yeah. I think it was homecoming. I think we were playing Harvard, and it's always a big crowd for homecoming. And this was the fall going into the New Hampshire primaries. So I guess it was 91 leading into 92, and the New Hampshire, presidential primaries are going to be taking place. And so presidential candidates were always around campus. And Bill Clinton, we spotted Bill Clinton in the stands. He was actually shaking hands and, stuff like that, campaigning at the game. And we sent someone down to see if he would come up and do an interview with us. And he came up to the booth, and I got to interview Bill Clinton during a Dartmouth football game on the air. It was really cool.
That's awesome. That's a big deal up here, the primary. Every 4 years, like, the whole state gets a ton of attention. And it's just like, I live in Manchester right now, and just a ton of media outlets all up and down Manchester, and Erika's in Nashua, not too far. So a big deal. That's super cool. You got to talk to Bill Clinton back before he was the president.
That's
awesome.
right. He was Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. That's right.
Yeah, has to be awesome. Well, Rob, we want to get to know you a little bit. We know you eventually came here to New Hampshire, but really you're kind of New York City based. You're on the New Jersey side of the river. Tell us a little bit about Rob. I even think there's a story about your mother who sounds awesome, who somehow got the school to have a school bus come and pick you up and bring you to like another school an hour away. Give us a little bit of Rob's bio here.
Wow, you got it. You've done some good research. I don't know how you found that. That's incredible. Well, I was born in New York City. I consider myself a native New Yorker. No offense to New Jersey. I did sleep there for a number of years. Went to school in New Jersey from 3rd grade to 6th grade or so. But, I consider myself more from New York. I was born at Lenox Hill Hospital on the east side. And I went to, was out in New Jersey, a pretty town called Haworth, New Jersey. But my parents decided they wanted me to go to school back in the city, private school. And so I applied to a school called Horace Mann, which is in Riverdale, part of the Bronx, right near Van Cortlandt Park, of cross-country fame, one of the great cross-country tracks in America. And yeah, my mom, who was and is a very driven person, she was always about finding ways to help her kids be everything they could be. And so she and my dad decided this was the best place for me to go to school. And it was in New Jersey and the school was in New York, but it turned out there were a number of kids from New Jersey who wanted to go to Horace Mann. Horace Mann had brought kids from Manhattan and Westchester and all 5 boroughs of New York City. So yeah, she managed to find a school bus company and arranged a route to come and pick us up in New Jersey every day and drop us off. And then there was a bus home, and then there was a late bus home for the athletes. So yeah, that's just an example of kind of the way my mom was. And she, she was very driven when I was a kid. She wanted us to have every opportunity. And, I think I picked up a lot of that in terms of how I am personally and how I am with my kids too. So I was very lucky to have the parents I've had. I don't think anybody, I always say you can't choose your parents, but it's one of the biggest determiners of how you do in life, and something none of us have any control over. So I hit the lottery in that regard.
Sounds like she instilled some good values in you, teaching you to be a go-getter and to get what you want.
Yeah, she did. I mean, my mom, I love talking about my mother. Her name is Gloria, and she grew up in Danville, Virginia, which, if you know Virginia, is like the southwestern corner of Virginia. So it's not Arlington, it's not Alexandria. It's like out not too far from Blacksburg and Virginia Tech, but it's really in the mountains. It's what you call the real southern part of Virginia. And I'm African American. My parents are African American. This was the segregated part of Virginia. When my mom grew up, she went to an all Black high school. The town was fully segregated. Danville actually had been the last capital of the Confederacy in the Civil War, as they were kind of like, in the final days of the war, and they were, trying to move around and evade the Union troops. The last place they called the capital was Danville, Virginia. So she graduated valedictorian of her high school class, but didn't really have opportunities to go to the kinds of schools she wanted to go to, because Virginia, even though Brown versus Board of Education had already happened and they were officially desegregating a lot of places, they weren't really accepting many either A, African Americans, or B, women into a lot of these schools like University of Virginia. So she had 2 big strikes against her, and wanting to go to a school like UVA, which is probably where she would have wanted to go under different circumstances. She certainly was qualified. So she ended up coming to New York City and going to a college called City College of New York, CCNY, which at the time was really famous as an incredibly high quality free education in New York City. And there were incredible people. Colin Powell went to CCNY around the same vintage as my parents. Jonas Salk, who invented the polio vaccine, went to City College. Like an incredible number of people went to City College. And so she went there, and that's where she met my dad. So, that's kind of why I exist, essentially, is because she came from Virginia to New York to go to college and met my father.
I love to hear the history.
Yeah, no, it's a story I don't tell that often, but I appreciate you're asking about my mom. It's a good excuse to tell that one.
Yeah, that's great. We love hearing the whole, as we always say here on the podcast, spare no details. We love to get those cool stories. So especially when they're not heard by many others, like that's so cool for us and for our listeners, and just to talk about, get to know you. So that's amazing. You eventually go to Dartmouth and you go to Harvard. Let's talk running. You mentioned you did cross country running. There's a love-hate relationship. Tell us a little bit about that love-hate relationship, and how did it become more a part of your life at some point?
Yeah, I love sports, and I really love team sports more than anything as a kid. I fell in love with baseball at a very young age, and I'm a New York Mets fan, and even though they weren't very good when I was very young, I just loved the team and watched it every chance I could get, and knew all the players and the positions, and I really understood the game for a kid, so I just loved playing it. And I think for someone, I wasn't a big kid, but I was able to play at the best I could play, I think, because I really loved it and understood it and studied the game and had a great time. I was a center fielder, so
I was just gonna ask.
That was my thing, was like, really being a very good defensive center fielder and catching the ball wherever it was. That was kind of what I was good at. Hitting was not so much my strength. So, but I was good enough to hit a little bit in high school, but not the college level. So, but running was always kind of another thing I did. I ran cross country in the fall. I would run on my own. I ran in college, but I wasn't part of any organized running. Mm-hmm. And so it was just kind of in the background. And then the turning point for me really with running was my third year of law school. In the spring of that year, Patriots Day in Boston, Massachusetts, a friend of mine happened to get tickets to, and there's a baseball tie-in, the Red Sox game that day. And everybody knows the Red Sox play an 11 a.m. game on Patriots Day. So we got these tickets, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool. So I went to Fenway. I don't even remember who the Red Sox were playing, but it doesn't matter. We watched the game and walked out of Fenway, and the Boston Marathon's going on. And we're like, oh, let's check out the end of the marathon. It was kind of a very last minute decision to walk over to, I think we walked over to Boylston Street or somewhere in that neck of the woods. And we watched people coming down the final stretch of the Boston Marathon. And, I just saw it, and I'd never, truth be told, I never went to the New York City Marathon when I was a kid. I never had any reason to go. I was either busy with something else or out in Jersey. So it was just, I'd never seen a marathon with my own eyes. And I saw these people and what it looked like for them. And I could see the emotions and like what it was like to have that experience of finishing a marathon. And I was really captivated by it. And I just thought, wow, that's amazing. That looks so cool. I've got to do that. I've got to run a marathon. And I just started thinking, it was my last year of law school. And I thought, well, this summer I'm going to be studying for the bar exam, and I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands and waiting to start a job at a law firm this fall. I figured, you know what, this is actually a really good time to try to run a marathon. And so I looked into it and found out how to apply for the New York City Marathon. And this was snail mail. So I had to mail in to request an application from New York Roadrunners. And then they mailed back an application to me. And then I filled it out and mailed it back to them. And sure enough, I don't know, a month or two later, I got a letter that I had been accepted and I was going to get to run the 1997 New York City Marathon. And that summer I trained all by myself. I would study for the bar exam and go for runs. I got a training plan out of a magazine and all the things. And I ran my first marathon on the rainiest day in the history of the marathon at that time. It was a horrific weather day, but I made it through.
You're going to promise me good weather this year, right?
I wish I could, Eric. I wish I could.
It's going to be epic.
It's going to be epic, as we like to say. Like, we either have amazing weather or the most epic, worst weather. Erika ran Boston in 2018. That was the year of
That's the year of Des Linden and the absolute horrific weather of all time. Yeah,
I can relate to your horrific rainy New York City Marathon.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was really terrible. I had a bunch of friends who came out to see me run. Really loyal friends who came to watch me run that year, and I think 2 or 3 of them got pneumonia. It was so bad.
No.
Yeah.
I hate to laugh at that, but wow.
Yeah, they all recovered. Thank goodness. But yeah, so I did that and I thought, well, it's going to be one and done for me. And I really wasn't planning on running any more marathons. But then in 2013, 16 years later, something caused me to run it again. I think it's because I wanted to run for a charity. I had an aunt who passed away from breast cancer, and I wanted to do something to honor her. And also I knew that I was probably moving out of the city at that point to come to Connecticut. And so I thought, what better way than to run one more marathon to say goodbye to New York City. I was living right by Central Park as well, so I was running all the time. And I ran it one more time in 2013, had a perfect day that day, trained much better, was part of a team, which really helped. And I ran 16 minutes faster 16 years later. So I thought, all right, this is good.
Very nice.
Were you involved in like the running community? We talk a lot about the running community, and part of that love-hate when you're younger is, like, I grew up playing ice hockey my whole life. Erika played soccer. Running was, I did cross country.
Punishment.
I did just to stay in shape, and maybe to some people it's like punishment. But at some point, we always tend to find this sport in our adult life, later in our adult life. Was running part of your life, your adult life there? Were you involved in the community, or was it just like, I want to do it again in 2013?
I was always running. I wouldn't say I was part of any community all those years. I was just someone who would go out for a run. You know, New York City is an amazing place to run. And so it was always a fundamental part of my fitness routine. You know, it was something I would do probably at least once a week, probably maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you know, depending on what was going on. But that Saturday run was like just a part of my life. Saturday or Sunday run when I was practicing law as a young lawyer or whatever I was doing. Running was just always there, you know, and there were so many great places to run. I lived downtown for a while, so I ran on the West Side Highway when I was living down there. And then when I moved uptown, it was Central Park, and, you know, it was just great. So I would like mostly just run on my own. I'd occasionally be moved to go run a race somewhere. I ran a half marathon down in Disney in like 2005, and, you know, I'd run a race here or there, but I wasn't like running all the time, you know, and when I moved to Connecticut, they've got, you know, a town 5K every May that I never wanted to miss. So I run that every year and a couple other races here and there. So I got a little bit involved in the local community in Connecticut. But yeah, it's just running is always there for you. And, you know, I think that when I really reconnected to running was during the pandemic. Like so many people, there was nothing else to do. And I started to run 4 or 5 days a week during that period. And that's what really kind of reconnected me to running in a bigger way. And then it was not long after that I got the call about New York Roadrunners looking for a CEO. So it all kind of came in that period of 2020 to 22.
Were you still living in Connecticut when you got the call to work for NYRR?
Yep. Still was. I still do. I still live mostly in Connecticut. I've got 2 daughters who live in Westport, Connecticut with me. I go to the city all the time, and I stay in the city a couple nights a week. So I'm kind of back and forth now. But yeah, I lived in Westport and, you know, got that call. And, you know, I had interviewed for a job at Roadrunners actually in 2015 or so. I had been recruited for a role as the chief community officer. I didn't end up being that interested in the job. That was when Mary Wittenberg was there, and I met her, but it wasn't really a fit. But yeah, I certainly knew of Roadrunners. I knew what a great organization it was. And when they called me, I said, oh yeah, it sounds really interesting. It's something I'd certainly be interested in talking to them about. It's a New York institution, and I love running.
What were you doing before? Like, what did they see in you because they reached out to you, they came to you? I don't know if you were at ESPN at the time or NBC, but I knew you were working with networks and sports. But what was your role, and what did they see in you, or what did you have for them that you were able to help them with?
I think that the background I had, you know, I've been in the sports industry for a long time. I stopped practicing law in 2002. And I had been at ESPN for 10 years, NBC Sports for 9 years after that, Tennis Channel, a couple other things. So I knew the sports industry. And the folks who thought of me knew I had run the marathon. I don't know how they knew, if they looked it up or something like that. They knew that I was, you know, someone in the industry who, you know, just kind of like was known in the industry. And, you know, I think they thought I'd be an interesting fit. You know, that's all I can remember, you know, and I started talking to them about some of my background. I think the other thing about me is that I was known to have I was in the sports industry working for corporations, but I always had an interest in giving back in some way, finding some way to be involved in making a difference and an impact, whether that was some, through, I ran for office once, so people knew I was, involved in public service from that point of view. And then I still, did some volunteer things in the state of Connecticut. Governor Lamont in Connecticut actually asked me to serve as the chairman of the board of the Connecticut Lottery, of all things. So I did that as a volunteer thing. Still am, by the way, chairman of the board of the Connecticut Lottery. So just, some ways to like try to make, give back to communities or government or whatever. So I think that was also part of it, was like, yeah, this is someone who, is interested in trying to be a useful member of society and help, do some things to contribute. And I think that's what appealed to me so much about Roadrunners, that it's not just a business. It's not a business. It's a not-for-profit that is driven by its mission, which I really love.
That's awesome. And I also think your ties to New York play an important role. It's like Dave McGilvery is the Boston Marathon race director. He's run it 50-something years. He's from
Born
the
and
area.
raised.
He has the whole story.
Yep.
You have the New York ties. You understand the New York City community, the people, the lifestyle. Unlike Erika and I don't. If we came from the same background, you have that perfect fit of those ties. And I think that really makes a connection with the community, because a lot of that community is New York. I know it's New York Roadrunners, but it's New York City based. So I think that plays a huge role.
I agree with that. And I'm actually a fourth generation New Yorker. We go back to my great grandfather in New York City. And so we have a lot of family ties. I'll still occasionally see someone at the finish line who will know my dad. My dad was a public school teacher or principal. And he was, they always tell me when someone who was a student of my father sees me at the finish line, they always say he was a very difficult grader. He was really tough with grades. So I always send him back. Yeah, somebody saw me at the finish line today and said that you really were harsh on the grades. But say, well, they got to do the work. But we had a lot of history in New York City, and I think that's part of why it's been a good fit. Yeah,
that's amazing. The family ties run deep.
Yeah. So, Rob, one thing we love to do here is we love to dive deep and pump the tires for things. And in your case, it's New York Roadrunners. And we've had plenty of race directors on, but we've never had someone on from your position as CEO who I think your goal is more show, how are you going to grow New York Roadrunners? How are you going to focus on the mission? And I want to hear a lot about not just the New York City Marathon, which we can talk about soon, because I'm really excited for it, and I get to run it with my sister who lives in New York City.
I've got to run it a couple of times.
Nice.
But we want to hear a lot about New York Roadrunners, and kind of start with when you started. What were some of the things that, your goals you set out to accomplish here? We know you did the Set the Pace podcast. We'll talk plenty of that soon too, but talk about like your start in New York Roadrunners, how you dove in, and let's pump the tires for the whole platform and everything New York Roadrunners does.
Sure. Well, there's so much to say. I think that when I got there, the organization had been through a lot in the couple of years before that. The pandemic had been really hard. There had been layoffs and furloughs, and there had been management changes, and it had been a rough couple of years, and the first thing I wanted to do was come in there and kind of reinvigorate positivity, getting people feeling good about what we do as an organization, feeling good about their jobs, feeling good about working for Roadrunners. And also I wanted to instill some innovative mindsets. I wanted to get people thinking more about innovation, about how we can, push the needle, and do more, start new things, take risks, try different things to kind of grow what we do across the board. And so we went through a strategic planning process. The first year and a half I was there, we came up with kind of 5 key pillars of what we want to accomplish as an organization. And so since then, we've had some really clear guideposts for what we want to do. And, a couple of examples of that I can give are first on technology. We have, I think, a huge opportunity to better engage people with technology. We didn't have an all-year mobile app. We'd have these apps that were put together for the marathon or for the half marathon, and then we kind of go away. We didn't have like a full year app to engage people all year long. And so we've changed that. We have an app that launched last March. We're about to update that app ahead of the New York City Marathon this year. And we've got really big plans to make that kind of the go-to place for anybody in our community who wants to run with us or run virtually or find someone to run with or train or whatever it might be. So we got, we're still early in the process, but that's something that we're really excited about. Another example is, we wanted to do a better job of telling the whole story of New York Roadrunners. And so that comes down to creating content that will help inspire people to run. The podcast was kind of the very first foray into that. But this past summer, we actually had a short form documentary that premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival back in June. And it's going to be coming out this fall on a platform to be announced. And it's great. It's called Final Finishers, and it tells the story of some of the people who finish last in the marathon every year. It's one of the things that makes New York Roadrunners and the New York Marathon really unique is how late we keep the finish line open. As you know, we don't have, the kinds of cutoffs that you'll experience in Tokyo or Berlin or Boston. Yep.
We love Boston, but we agree.
Yeah,
you guys do the finish line right.
Well,
do.
It's
Party
a tradition.
well into the night.
So you wait for the last finisher, or is there a time like midnight?
We basically wait for the last finisher. Now, we found ways to bring that time up a little bit, but these people are finishing at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. They're finishing late, and we keep that line open. And it's true. Erika said it. It's a party. It's a party at the end. And so the glow sticks come out, and we've got a DJ, and we celebrate these people. So this film celebrates and tells the story of, 5 or 6 people who were among these final finishers over the years and why they do it, what drives them. And it's incredibly inspiring. So I wish I could tell you where it's going to be, but November 1st, it will be out on a streaming platform that you'll hopefully have access to, or you can subscribe to. And there'll be lots of press about that when it comes out. So we're excited about it.
I will keep my eyes peeled for sure, because I've just seen clips on social media of all the finish line antics, I suppose you could say. And it is such an emotional thing because people, it could take somebody 6, 7, 8, 9 hours to finish a marathon, but a lot of people, this is their first one. They're doing it for charity. They deserve to be out there and celebrated just as much as the winner of the whole thing. So I love that you guys do that. I love that there's going to be a documentary, and I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, it's really great. We were thrilled with how it came out. The screening, people were just in tears. It was awesome. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So those are some examples. Yeah. But I could go on forever about stuff going on at Roadrunners, Eric. Yeah.
Well, one thing I always thought is we're a storytelling podcast and everyone has a story. But when you have a race with that many runners in the New York City Marathon, it's hard to get all those stories out. And it's super awesome that you are, or I should say wicked awesome, that you are getting those stories out of the back of the pack finishers, because we have friends who run in the back of the pack and, they're putting in more hours than so many others. It's the hours on your feet are incredible.
Yes.
And the stories are amazing. So, every chance to get those stories out, that's incredible. Something else that I think is really cool is you have a program, and I don't know when the program started, but it's called 9+1. And so I would love to take credit and say we're the reason my sister started running, but the real reason is the New York City Marathon. She started watching it about 2-3 years ago. And then she learned about the 9+1, and she learned that I don't need to fundraise $10,000 like the Boston Marathon. I can earn it by running 9 races and volunteering at one. And she did exactly that. She's running her first marathon with me November 2nd in New York City. Tell us about the 9+1 program and other programs you have.
Yes, 9+1 is really a huge part of the backbone of New York Roadrunners in the New York City running community. You said it. If you run 9 of our races in a calendar year and volunteer at one of them, you are guaranteed entry into the following year's marathon. And so it really is a huge give back to New York City and to people who live in New York or nearby, because obviously you got to live in the area to run 9 races, for the most part. the reason it started, and it started over a decade ago, actually, a little known fact, the main reason that Roadrunners started it was because of the need for volunteers to run the races.
Oh.
So it was the +1 that was really the driver, actually, of that program, because the organization was having a hard time getting enough volunteers to staff these races and make sure that we could leave Central Park or wherever we were running, clean and in good shape. So it was really the need for volunteers that drove it. And that was brilliant, because now we've got, a huge core of volunteers at all of our races, and they help us leave the park or wherever we are kind of like just as spotless as we found it when we finish a race. And, volunteering is a huge part of the experience of being a New York Roadrunners member. But it's great because it gives people that opportunity to know they can run. It keeps us being really part of the fabric of New York City. And it's, incredibly affordable, Eric, to your point, when you compare it to raising money for a charity or something like that. And it also doesn't have to do with how fast you are. You can run those 9 races in any amount of time. It doesn't matter. So, it's a great program. And, it's something that it's a big part of how we operate. And, the downside of it is when there's as much demand as there is right now for running and races, it's become really hard, not just to get into the marathon, but to get into any of our races. Our races are all selling out, and sometimes within hours of going on sale, because people are trying to get this 9+1 credit. So one of the things I'm dealing with as CEO is, how do I create a system that allows people to get into races more equitably, and that also isn't putting so much emphasis on everybody getting in for 9+1, that, that casual runner who only wants to run 2 or 3 races a year has a way to do that, and isn't shut out by all the people trying to do 9+1. So it's something that we're looking at to try to keep this from being so driven by 9+1 that nobody else can run.
In a way, it's a good problem to have. Like, you got people signing up, your racers are selling. I learned the hard way with the 5K that happens the day before. Like, it just happens so fast. So it's a good problem to have.
It's definitely a good problem to have, but as I say, good problems to have are still problems. So you still have to find a way to deal with them. Yes.
Well, you're going to find a solution. I know you are, because I've been following with your.
Well, one thing we're actually doing, which I can talk about, which is a little bit of a test solution to this problem, is we added another drawing this year. So we have a race that's in January, I think, February, called the Manhattan 10K. And it's not that special a race. It's a big race, 8,000 runners in Central Park, but in the dead of winter, cold race.
That brings
8,000
runners.
Yeah, but it was selling. It was selling out really, really fast, and so we decided to add a drawing for that to see what would happen, because drawings are inherently a little more fair, than the first come, first serve, like sitting by your keyboard with a high-speed internet connection and making sure you could get in. So we're testing some more drawings. We're doing some other things to just try to make it as equitable as we can. And we're also adding some events and some races that are not part of 9+1, so that the casual runner has a place to run.
There you go.
How many races does the New York Roadrunners put on every year, including with both the 9+1 and the non 9+1?
Yeah, this year we'll do about 43 adult races or events of some kind, and then another 20 or so youth events. So we're in the 60s. Great. Most of the youth events happen alongside our adult races, but yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there's not too many weekends when we're not out there putting on a race.
That's incredible. So a little bit about your role. You're not a race director, right? I don't think you're doing the things they do out there. You are Rob Simmelkjaer, CEO, New York Roadrunners. Let's dive into what your weekend's going to be like coming up in a couple of days or next week at the New York City Marathon.
Well, yeah. So I'm not the race director. Ted Metellus is our race director, our chief event production officer. Ted and I work hand in hand on everything when it comes to events. We actually tag team a lot of the time when it comes to media appearances, and we talk a lot about decisions we're making from an event production point of view. So we're very closely aligned. But my day it'll start at 3 a.m. I think I usually have a New York City Police the car, come pick me up at about 3:30 in the morning on race day, and they'll drive me out to Staten Island. So I'm out there by, about 4, something like that. And I'll get there, get some coffee, start to get set up for the day. My first media interviews are typically starting maybe at 5, something like that. So from 5 to about 7, I'm doing media interviews. I'm greeting runners. I'm walking around to some of the different tents and wishing people good luck and getting any updates on anything that's going on. But it's usually pretty quiet, And then we have a tent right on the bridge that I'll go to around 7. We have a lot of our kind of VIPs and, people from the city, the mayor, governor, if the governor comes, dignitaries, folks like that who will come. And so I'll spend time with them. I'll do a TV interview for the WABC live broadcast. And then I'll head to the bridge, and Ted and myself and, whatever dignitaries are there with us will give our speeches, getting people ready to go. The national anthem will be sung. And then once the gun goes off, we send the pros out. Then we send the masses out, and then I hop in another police car, and we'll speed up and catch up with the pros in Brooklyn somewhere, and I'll follow the pros through Brooklyn into Queens. We'll go over the 59th Street Bridge into Manhattan, and that's around mile 14 or so, and then I'll peel off typically off the course to get over to Central Park to be there ahead of the winners. And I try to get there ahead of the wheelchairs as well as the runners, so that we can be there to celebrate them and give them their medals and all of that. So then I'm at the finish line for a good chunk of the day, which is a lot of fun.
You are really in the thick of things all day long. You
100%.
have a very, very early morning, even before the runners wake up.
Yes.
I don't think I woke up before like 5 o'clock on race day for the New York City Marathon. But so you are really out there and getting it done. Celebrating.
It's a long day. It's a long day. And I'll sneak away from the finish line a couple times during the day. I actually go and record a podcast with the winners the same day. Yep. So we'll bring them over to a hotel in Midtown, and I'll interview each of them, both the wheelchair male, female, and the open field male, female winners. And then I'll usually head to their dinner for a bit. Then I'll come back to the finish line. Then we have an after party that I'll make an appearance at. And then I'll usually end the day with the final finisher celebration back at Central Park. So, yeah, it turns out to be about a, 19-hour day, something like that. But, I rest up for it ahead of time.
What a fun day.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And, the other part of the day is just, I've got people with me, who know how to get in touch with me in case anything goes on, right? I mean, the thing about that day is, as you guys know well in New England, like, it's a great day, and you want it to be a great day, and it should be, right? But yes. You're always when you're in my position, you're always thinking about every possibility, everything that could happen, from runner health and safety to security to all the things that you have to think about with a mass event like this. So that's so much of it is just being aware of what's going on and being reachable in case anything happens that needs my attention. And we have a huge control and command center right by the finish line that I'll duck into a few times a day as well and check in with the team. How are things going? Are there any issues on the course? Any problems that we're aware of, things like that. So just making sure operationally we're in a good place.
Good.
For somebody like me, a first timer, first New York City Marathon, don't live there. I'm traveling down. I get to stay with my sister, so that's a plus. But for somebody like me, a first timer, what should they expect? Like, what are some things they should look forward to here? I'm going to be there early. I'm going to go to the expo on Friday. I'm going to be exploring, meeting friends from the podcast world and stuff. We do it at Boston, but never done it for New York. What's something we have to look forward to in New York?
Oh, man, there's so many things. I mean, I would start with the expo. It's an incredible expo, and you will love it there. I mean, there's so many amazing people there. We have podcasters, we have authors, we have something called the Citizen Stage where there are panel discussions going on all 3 days, great conversations happening over there. Our sponsors do an unbelievable job with their activations. I mean, the New Balance store, you could spend 3 hours in there all by yourself. Then so many of the other stores and vendors who are there and our partners, they just make the expo so much fun. So you'll not get tired of that. We have a lot of great events happening elsewhere around the city. The marathon opening ceremony is a really cool thing to attend. That'll be That this year, that's going to be on Halloween. So that'll add a little bit of spice to that.
Ooh.
Friday night, October 31st. So that I would recommend going to check out, and you can get a ticket, hang out in the bleachers. And, we have every country represented. It's like the Olympics. Every country's got a group of people that will march down past the finish line and down Central Park Drive. So that's a fun event. And then, gosh, there's just so much. I mean, the one piece of advice I would give you is, I'm sure you've already got your transportation sorted out, right? To the starting line?
Yep.
Are you taking the ferry or are you taking a bus?
We're taking the ferry, 8 a.m.
I'm a fan of the ferry. The ferry is great. It's low stress. You get there and then the buses will take you from the ferry to the finish line. But yeah, I'm a big fan of taking the Staten Island ferry as a way to get over there. It's also a beautiful view, and you get
That's
a great sense of where you're going. Yep.
Yeah. Everyone was doing the bus, and the only options we had, or the best ones I thought, was ferry, and my sister agreed. And I was like, this is going to be so much more relaxing in my mind. Might be cold.
I think so. No, I think so. And there's an indoor part of the ferry too, so you can stay warm if you need to. But yeah, I love taking the ferry over. And then, just enjoy the day. I mean, I think your first time running New York, the piece of advice I give people is, to me, that's not the race to run for time.
Right.
If it's your first New York City marathon, that's just not a race you want to be like focused on your time, looking at your watch, zeroed in on your splits. Like that's a day to just soak in the atmosphere of running through what, of course, I'm going to say is the greatest city in the world, and with an incredible energy and incredible fun and the vibes. It's all about the vibes. I mean, that's really what it is. So that's my advice. I don't care if it's your first marathon or your 31st, just enjoy the experience of running the New York City Marathon. And if you decide to come back and run for time in the future, you can do that. I mean, people who run a lot of marathons know that New York's not the place to get your PR if you are regularly running other faster marathons like Chicago or Berlin or something like that. It's a place to have an experience.
Is that what you're going for, by the way? You going for a PR in a couple of weeks?
In Chicago?
In Chicago.
You're going to be in Chicago?
I am. I'm running Chicago on October 12th. And yes, that is one that I am going to I am focused on time. I think Chicago also is known as really fun. And so I'm going to try to make sure I enjoy that too. But yes, I am running for a time in Chicago. I hope that it will be the last time I ever run for a time, because what I'm really trying to do is qualify for Boston in Chicago. Yes, I've got a new age group. So I've got 10 minutes more than I had last year to try to qualify for Boston. And I'm going to see if I can pull that off.
Of course, this drops after Chicago, but you'll be running it with Erika, by the way. She'll be there in Chicago. It's doing like her 5th or 6th one. She's done New York multiple times. She's a 6-star medalist already. She'll be going for the 7th and 8th one day too. But
someday.
You'll be there. Good luck. You're going to crush it.
Mm-hmm.
We can't finish this podcast, though, without talking about Set the Pace, because we love doing this. This is our passion project. We've done some cool things now, but we've been able to listen and kind of learn from yours, because you've done so many cool live shows that we're just getting into. And you've really grown this thing kind of like we've grown ours. And that's what I appreciate. And you've evolved over time, and your show's just so cool. And it's how I know how to say Simmelkjaer correctly. Let's talk a little bit about Set the Pace. How did you come up with starting a podcast?
Well, when I was interviewing for the job of New York Roadrunners, I actually mentioned the idea to the board. And I said to them, an example of the kinds of things I'd like to do here are start a podcast. And I did some rough math about how many people train for the New York City Marathon, how many hours they're typically running in the course of their training, multiply that by the number of runners. And it came up with like millions of hours of running time that people were putting in to train for the marathon. And I said, you can't watch TV while you're running. You can't read a book. So you can listen to one, but let's give them something to listen to while they're doing all this running. So it initially was really focused on the people doing their marathon training blocks. And we launched it Labor Day in 2023 to kind of help people give them something to do during those long runs. And the theory was that, kind of like you said at the beginning, Eric, we have 50,000 amazing people showing up at the starting line of the marathon every year. Surely we can find 52 of them a year who would be really interesting to interview. Like that can't be hard, right? There's got to be 52 fascinating people out of the 52,000. We just need 1 in 1,000 to be a good interview. So we started, booking these conversations with people. It started out with me and Neb Keflezighi, New York and Boston winner, co-hosting it. And Neb was amazing. And that was a great place to start. And then we brought in Peloton as a sponsor of the podcast, and Bex Gentry, the amazing Bex Gentry, my co-host and phenomenal runner and instructor, a pro, incredibly inspiring, a huge following of people who love her on the Peloton treads. So she joined as my co-host, and Neb's still involved interviewing our members every week. So it's been a real joy, and I love being at the finish line of so many of our races, where it's really my favorite place to hang out. Like, if I'm running or not running, it doesn't matter. I'll stay at the finish line for a long time and give fist bumps to our runners. And I have so many of them say, "Oh my God, I love the podcast and thank you for doing it." And that means a lot to me, because it's just another way for us as an organization to speak to our runners, to communicate with them, to tell them about what we do, what we're all about as an organization, to connect them to others in the running community. And it's become hopefully a really nice hub for especially our members. We have 85,000 members now. So it's a big community that we have. And, that's really the target audience, whether they're full-time members or people who just become members of our running community in the 4 months leading up to the marathon. It's a place for them all to convene and get themselves psyched to take on the 26.2 miles from Staten Island to Central Park.
Absolutely. I love that you are out there showcasing your members and your passion for the New York Roadrunners and the New York City Marathon. It just totally comes through the podcast, and it doesn't hurt that Bex is on it too.
No,
I love
Bex,
me some Bex.
It's all about Bex. Let's fine. I kind of do the broadcast stuff. I keep the train on the tracks, but Bex is the star of that show. We all know that.
No, you guys are wonderful.
We've pumped Bex's tires plenty of times. She's been on here a couple of times. She's phenomenal. She's a huge supporter, and we love everything she's done. But I'll tell you what I love about your podcast and about you, Rob, is that you just seem to enjoy it and you're passionate about it. And it doesn't sound like, when listening, that you're doing it because it's work. It almost seems like you would do it even if you weren't the CEO of the New York Roadrunners. You enjoy it that much. And all what I do is I take in podcasts, whether it's a hockey podcast, NASCAR podcast, some running podcasts. And I started listening when you brought Bex on. And then I started going back and listening to some older episodes of some guests you've had. And it's just what I get out of you. It's a lot what I see in me here with this passion project we have. It doesn't feel like work. And you give that same expression.
That podcast is not work for me. You're right. It's that, to me, is a chance to experience the joy of my job and the joy of what I do, of bringing people together, making them happy, all around this incredible activity of running. So that really isn't work. I mean, I've got to work a lot during the course of the week. I got a lot of meetings, not all of which I want to be in. I've got a lot of emails and things to send and stuff to do. It is an organization that we have 275 employees and a lot going on, right? So sometimes it's work, but that part of it is not work. And I'm glad that comes through. I appreciate that.
Absolutely does.
The podcast is just an extra little time to unwind, and you get to get to know somebody better. And I totally agree with you. What Eric and I do, it isn't work. And it just, talking to somebody like yourself, it's just so nice to get new perspectives and just get to meet some really cool people. So I'm glad that we get to share the same kind of experiences.
Appreciate that. It's pretty awesome.
Well, Rob, you've been amazing with your time. Seriously, we loved having you on here. This has been fantastic. But we have 2 final questions we have to ask you. Not a big deal. They're not hard at all. But I'm going to let Erika go first on this one, and then I'll ask you mine.
He never lets me go first. All right, Rob, we have ourselves a Spotify playlist, and we like to invite our guests to add a song to it. So is there anything that kind of gets you pumped up, ready for your day, gets you excited to go on a run that you'd like to add to our list?
So my daughter's been curating a playlist for my Chicago Marathon run because I do sometimes like to listen to music quietly so I can hear my surroundings, but still I listen a bit when I'm running in races sometimes to keep me calm. And she's got a lot of great. It's called Rob's Chicago Marathon playlist, and I was looking at it and I thought, one of my favorite, and I actually placed it strategically at a certain spot in the playlist. Is Tiesto. I love Tiesto. I love the energy of that EDM. And there's a song called Let's Get Down to Business, which is really great to put in like where you think you'll be around mile 20, is like, all right, let's go, right? Like, let's put our heads down and make this happen. Like you don't want it too early. It's a little too hype. But yeah, I love that song, Tiesto, Let's Get Down to Business. It starts kind of slow, but then it's got an amazing beat and it gets you pumped for that point in the race when you gotta put the hammer down.
That's it, Erika. That's a good song to have on the list. That's the vibe I like there. Anything EDM, that gets me going.
100%. 100%.
Yes. So, Rob, my final question is this. On the Runs is hosting this gigantic pasta dinner with all of our guests. All of our guests from the podcast get to bring a +1. You can bring anyone in the world, alive or dead. However, you can't bring any living family members. Who are you going to bring to our pasta dinner?
Ooh, I get to pick anyone alive or dead. So this is that classic, who do you want to have dinner with in your lifetime? Well, gosh, I'm probably going to choose Barack Obama or Nelson Mandela. One or the other. One alive, one dead.
Is Barack already coming?
Michelle is.
That's right.
Great.
Cool.
So I'll bring Barack and we'll get to watch them interact a little bit. Absolutely. Cool. I mean, I don't know that either of them is a runner. Obama's a basketball player. So I'm not sure how much we could talk about running, but certainly just talking about the world that we live in and what it's been. I mean, Mandela probably is my number one, because of his life story and what he was able to do and accomplish. And I actually went to South Africa that same year I ran the 97 marathon. The only thing I did other than study and run that summer was go to South Africa. And it was while Mandela was president. And I remember seeing what it was like in that country at that time. It was incredible. So he's to me one of the top 5 humans who's ever walked the earth. And I think talking to either of them over some pasta, some buttered pasta or whatever sauce. What kind of sauce are we getting? What kind of sauce are we getting on this pasta?
Well, there's going to be options. That's
okay,
good.
Be
options.
Yeah. Before a marathon, I probably want like a nice kind of a mild white sauce, maybe just simple olive oil.
It'll be the best pasta. We're going to get the best cook in New England.
As long as there's garlic bread too, I'm happy.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing, Rob. You're going to love it. If we really do this, you're welcome to come. This has been so much fun having you on. I manifested this for quite a while now since I knew I was running the New York City Marathon. I'm like, all right, we do a cool series every April called Boston Weeks. I want to do a mini New York City Weeks here, and you're kicking it off. We got New York City in about a week here. Thank you so much for doing this. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed that because that was wicked awesome. Rob Simmelkjaer on the On the Runs podcast.
Rob, oh my gosh, what an amazing episode. All right, before we get into this, I just thank you again, and I apologize for being so very wrong on the Boston tip. I saw something, and I just believed whatever I saw on the internet. So, I mean...
Do you want me to put that back in the episode?
Did you take it out?
Yeah, I took it out.
Then let's redo it.
No, that's great. Guys, stick around for the blooper.
Yeah,
stick
you
around
can
for
put
the
that
blooper.
as the blooper.
It's the blooper. It already is.
All right, good. Because I saw something on the internet right before they announced like what the Boston buffers were, and God, did I make a mistake.
Don't believe everything you see on the internet, especially the AI these days.
You know what's funny, too? I saw it, and I couldn't find it again, and I was like, oh, no. Because we were talking about it, and I tried looking it up, and nope, couldn't
he
find
was like,
anything on
really?
it.
Because he's like, oh, game changer.
Yep. So... Yes, I did email after and apologize.
Oh, he didn't respond because he got, No, I'm kidding. He did. Rob, you were amazing. Bex, thank you so much for making that happen.
Oh, that was an incredible guest appearance.
That's right. So New York's in a few days. I'm excited. So what do you want to know? Or what do you, let me just tell you. I am
You
going.
gotta fill me in on your whole sequence of events. Do you have everything planned? Like, when are you getting into the city? When are you visiting the expo? Are you with Hannah the whole time? Are you gonna be putting her out by sleeping on her couch the whole time, her and Mike?
All right, so here's the
tell
game.
me the game plan pre-race.
All right, so I'm going to head up Friday morning. The question is, am I
Yes.
leaving at 5 in the morning
Oof.
or at 8 in the morning? So
8 in the morning.
Well, if I leave at 8 in the morning, that means I take Adeline to school, which would be pretty cool because
Yes.
it's one of the favorite
Yes.
things I do. I take her to school every day. She might get a ride.
Okay.
And if she gets a ride, I'll leave earlier because we have the demo day the expo day Friday afternoon at 2 to 4
Yes.
or 3 to 5, something like that with Hannah. So I'll drive straight to Hannah's house
Yes,
on
yes.
Friday morning. And then Friday night, I might be doing a Peloton run.
Oh, I certainly hope so, because I think Mariana's going to be there.
Yes.
Is Beck's going to be there?
No, but hopefully Allie G and maybe Hannah.
Oh, excellent. Yes,
So
yes.
Hannah's running the 5K Saturday,
Okay.
and there is the Beck's Shakeout Run Saturday. And I don't know if I'm going to be a Shakeout Run guy, but
Hey, you show up to these things. You could walk. A walk counts
That's
as a
true.
shakeout. So
That's
I
true.
think that's sponsored by Celsius, which you definitely love.
I love
to
it.
drink,
I love it. So
that's right up your alley.
And also shout out my race tats and right socks.
Yes.
But so
yes, Celsius, no free ads.
So Saturday she's doing that 5K. I might try to see where that is in relation to the Beck's Shakeout.
Okay.
Friday will be the busy day.
Okay.
Saturday will be the relaxing day. Hopefully see Beck's and all that. And then we're taking the ferry. We have an 8 o'clock ferry on Sunday morning.
Oh,
And
for race day.
I'm in the 5th wave. And I am going to even roll further back to start with Hannah.
That, you know what, that makes me so happy, because you were talking, you were freaking out basically. You're like, I don't even want to run anymore.
Yeah, that was
But
a
you
joke.
were-
I was joking.
I got that.
I was being sarcastic. I'm like, I'm not in the
Yes,
same
yes.
wave or corral. No, that was
Obviously,
the
I
bottom.
got
And I was
that.
like, and Allie G's like, yeah, I heard it's an awful race too. Like, what's the point in making the
But
travel
I
for
just
that?
love that you guys are actually going to, you guys get to make the effort to run together, because if you had to find each other, that's just so much added stress on race day, and you want to minimize that the best you can, so you
Yeah.
can just enjoy the run as it is.
I just got to pause real quick. Look at that girl's shirt. That's her t-shirt. I need her to turn around. She has the white headphones. She can't hear me because okay.
What does it say?
If she were to turn around, it's skeleton hands. Right here.
Okay.
Right here.
That is a perfect Halloween themed shirt.
But yeah, no, Sunday's going to be fun. We're going to start, I think, my parents and Alex will be somewhere around mile 12 or something,
Okay.
and there'll be others. So guys, if you are listening, check it out. Reach out in the DMs. Tell me where you'll be. You got to look for me. I do have my kit picked out.
Oh, okay.
I got the underwear picked out.
Yes.
I got the shorts.
Yes.
The shoes.
Yes.
The socks. Well, my race kit's gonna be. I'm gonna do a flat Eric, but
Yes.
I'm pretty excited. So I went back and forth with a couple things. What was I gonna wear for a shirt? Was it gonna be this white shirt that said Team Force, which I didn't think was meant for the race.
Okay.
I still don't.
Did you get a singlet or something?
I got it. I got a package.
Okay.
I'll post it later this week. I got
Sure.
a package. It was a T-shirt.
Okay.
But I know some people are going to wear it, and I was like, nah, I don't want it. And then I love the singlets you and the girls got.
Yep.
And so I thought about maybe I could express order one for me, a
Oh.
T-shirt. And I was like, no, we have the On the Runs ones that came in the Sport Tech.
True.
But the only reason I don't like it is because it's a very lighter blue than OTR blue.
That's true.
And the light white colors don't do me any justice.
Oh, not your color palette?
No, not my color palette.
You're not a winter?
The dark gray is great.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, especially if I'm sweating and stuff and stuff like that.
True.
It just doesn't look good on the move. So I, last night, found a shirt
Okay.
on social media.
On social media, all
And
right.
it is amazing. And it is, I'll just tell you guys now. I ordered it last night. I
Okay.
ordered it from Backline.
Oh, you got a backline shirt. You know you're going to get something great.
And it says New York on it. In
Oh.
a fancy way. It's
Are
the
these
new,
the ones that
Yes.
Ali G was modeling?
Yes.
Oh, God, those look so
So,
freaking cool.
I saw the Ali G model
Yeah.
photos, and I don't do singlets, but they have it in a T-shirt.
Okay,
So
that's awesome.
I got the T-shirt, ordered it yesterday, so I have to go visit the Backline store in Brooklyn to pick it up.
All right.
Oh,
I was going to say,
and-
man, I just hope that you get to practice in it, because you never know what's going to chafe and where. So,
The other cool
I don't
thing
know.
I did was I used the code Allie G and got a discount.
Oh, beautiful.
So thank you, Allie G and Backline. Hey, do you see this? We got drones flying around right here.
One is a drone, one is a bird. So, but yes,
Oh,
a drone.
that is a...
Yes, that is really cool. I love getting the bird's eye view. They can really get the feeling of what we're
What's
what
up,
we're
drone?
doing.
I hope. Oh, maybe he didn't catch us. Oh man, this is so cool. What an atmosphere! It turned out to be another epic day.
It is beautiful now. The sun came out full force, and
Yeah.
I am warm now. So I ditched the jacket, I ditched the gloves. My ears are nice and warm from from my headphones. This is how I like to be.
We'll do a quick Google check. Google now says it is 49 degrees, feels like 46.
You know, it's beautiful. I'll take it.
So can we talk something that's not running
Yeah, of
and
course.
not New York?
Okay.
I spent about, let's call it $2,300 in the last 10 days.
On what? What the hell did you buy for $2,300?
Skis,
Oh my God.
Boots.
Okay.
bindings. I bought Adeline skis,
Okay.
and
So
I
how
got the boys' leases, but I'm so excited.
you got your own set?
My first since 2007. I'm
oh,
so excited.
Wow.
You're going to love these.
Okay.
Guess what color they are?
Purple.
Purplish,
See, oh, I just threw that out there.
but mostly pink.
Oh, no
Yes.
shit, man.
Yes, mostly pink.
I'm kind of surprised. Like, usually you're all about the OTR blue.
Well,
like
I
our
had the
beautiful
best
backdrop.
pair picked out that
Yeah?
were OTR blue,
What
and
happened?
they just weren't the right ski.
Okay. So they
for
didn't,
what
they
I'm
didn't quite
doing.
work out for you.
No, I mean they're an amazing ski. They're
Yeah.
also $1,300, and I got mine for half of that. Mine are going to win like ski of the year. But
Love it.
but it was more for skiing the big pow out west.
Wait a minute. Are you planning a trip out west?
No. The ski I didn't buy was more for skiing the big pow out west.
I see.
So we got a couple guys coming. We're gonna jump them on right here.
What's
We'll be back.
going on, guys? I'm ready.
All right, we're having. So here's the deal, here, guys. We're having so much fun. We got to wrap up the outro for episode 192.
I don't even know where we left off.
Right. So here's the thing. Let's come back in a couple of days, and let's do. So it's Tuesday if you're listening right now.
Yeah.
On Thursday should be the Newburyport episode where we are live right now. It's so cool. And then maybe we can record later this week and do a little one more time, like getting ready for New York. Kind of wrap up the whole week of Newburyport, New York, getting ready, packing. We can
I mean, I gotta know what your food choices are gonna
Right.
be pre-race.
30
Like, I gotta know it all.
30-minute power episode that
Sure.
drops Friday,
Sure.
which I think will be the first time we've dropped 3 episodes ever on this podcast in a week. So, guys, that was amazing. I really hope you loved Rob Simmelkjaer on the podcast. That was Manifestation. Thank you again to Bex Gentry. Guys, Bex Gentry made that happen. That's so
I
cool.
hope you get to meet her this weekend.
Well,
I really hope
we'll work
so.
on this.
Yes.
We'll work on it. So,
Manifest.
manifest, baby. But Erika, take us home.
I hope you guys really are enjoying this live atmosphere that we're a part of right now. We think it's so awesome, and we hope to do more of these in the future. But as always, thank you for listening. You know we love you.
Don't fear the code brown.
And don't forget to strut! Ooh, speaking of Boston, I also heard this year that there was no extra time buffer needed to get into the 2026 marathon. So I'm wondering if that bodes well for you.
Did you
for
just hear that
Chicago.
today? Because I have
I
not heard
did.
that.
I
Okay,
think I literally just
you're
heard
giving
it
me
today.
news. I was just about to
Insider
text.
information.
Thank you for telling me that, Erica.
Somebody posted something, so I mean, I hope it bodes well for 2027.
I was wondering when they were going to come out with that. And I was literally just about to text Jack Fleming today, like, "Hey, what's going on? When are we going to hear about the buffer?
I
No
hope I have my
buffer.
info
That's
correct.
huge.
I hope
That's
I have my
huge.
info correct.
That could
She's
mean
wrong.
a lot to
If
me."
you're wrong, you.
I'm gonna get a really
love that.
angry text later.